Hi, this is Trin Johnson, and welcome to Dust in My Eye. If you like this video, please hit the like button. And if you'd like to see more of my videos, please hit the subscribe button. And if you want to be notified of any new videos, hit that cute little bell. Today I'm going to show you how to spruce up your sketchbooks with alcohol ink. I've had a lot of fun with this, and I hope you will too. This Strathmore visual journal is my favorite go-to sketchbook. It's 140-pound watercolor paper, and it's 5.5 inches by 8 inches. It's available in all different paper styles and weights, and it also comes in a larger 12-inch by 9-inch size. I prefer the watercolor paper in the 5.5 by 8-inch size. That really works the best for me since I work in watercolor a lot. I started painting in alcohol ink a few years ago, and you start looking for anything that has a surface that you can paint on. And I noticed my watercolor journals had this nice smooth surface, and it was white on the inside, brown on the outside, and I thought, well, I can flip that. Can I paint on it? So I tried, and this was the result of that. And I painted right directly on the surface with my alcohol inks. These other ones are also painted directly on the surface with alcohol inks, with no real prep involved. And it worked okay. And it was very easy to just take the back cover off and use the back cover then as the front cover, just because it was more accessible. I'll show you later on what I mean by that. And they have different things in them. This has watercolor sketching, and this one is full of different techniques that I learned in my watercolor class. This was kind of fun. Then I learned about this treatment you could give a surface with Kills 2, which I'll show you later, the can. And I started pre-treating the covers before I painted on them. And the inks move a lot better. You can see that that's just not glossy right there. You can tell that I didn't treat that one. This one, I don't know if you can tell, it has a little bit of a surface to it. You can see the brush strokes underneath. And surprisingly, it makes a huge difference in how the inks move. This one's full of my Creation CC-like inspired sketches with watercolor and ink pen doodling. And this is just a general sketchbook in this one. This one was full of doodle wash prompts from the World of Watercolor. And then at the end of the notebook, I had some space left, so it's got some sketches in it. And this one's my current one, with things in it from my family art challenge and just things I wanted to play with, monsters. You can also do this on just a regular old notebook. You don't have to have a sketchbook. Any hard-covered notebook would do. This one's just lined paper. What's important is the way it's bound. If it's got that double wrap, that makes the cover easier to take off. But it doesn't absolutely have to be. You just may not be able to remove the cover. These are just assorted ones I have gotten and painted the fronts. The tricky part is if you can't take the cover off, it's kind of hard to put the Kills 2 down. So that's going to be your battle. See, this one was white to begin with, so I did not have to put the Kills down on it, and I did not, but it worked okay. I just had to paint it with the cover still attached to the pages. Now I'm going to show you how to take the cover off. It's really very simple, and like I said earlier, we're actually going to take the back cover off because in this particular notebook, they're the same, or sketchbook. The paper, I don't believe, has a right or wrong side. Both work equally as well. And it's just easier to take the back cover off and paint on it and use it as the front cover. If you need to, you can remove the other cover. It just means taking the pages off too. And this way you don't have to take any of the pages off the binding. You just have to take the back cover off. Now we're ready to prime. Here's the Kills 2 can. It's 2, not regular Kills. That's really important because this one is water soluble and the other one is not. So I'm just going to open it up and give it a stir. There's not much left in this can. When I'm coating something that isn't already white, I will generally give it 2 coats. I'll do one with my stroke ending crosswise, and I'll do another coat with the brush stroke going down. I'm just going to put a piece of paper towel underneath, more to protect the back of the cover than to protect my work surface. And here I remembered to put a glove on, because Kills 2, while it is water soluble, is still kind of a pain in the butt to get off your hand. And I don't really need one on my right hand, but the hand that's holding the back cover, or the front cover soon to be, it gets messy because of all those little holes and trying to hold on to it. I like to give just a little light coat over the holes because otherwise it seeps through them, so I try to do that when the brush doesn't have a lot of paint left on it. It doesn't really need a lot. You're not really going to paint over there. You just don't want the surface to be different than it is on the rest of it. Just make sure you hit all the spots. Now I'm going crosswise first, and then I'm going to do my final brush stroke down or lengthwise. It's like when you paint your walls and you do W's and V's, and you want to make sure that final downstroke, or whatever stroke, whichever direction you go, it's the same all the way around your walls. I always go down. I noticed I missed a little corner here, so I had to touch that up. You can tell really easily because it's shiny, and you can just hold it up to the light and see if you've missed anywhere. If you do, it won't quite take the paint the same as it will in the spots that are coated. Now it's all dry. Time for the fun part. Here's the paints I'm going to use. This first one is a Copic B93 Light Crockery Blue. It's an ink refill. And then I have Vineyard Ranger's Alcohol Inks, and that's a new color. And Boysenberry, which is also a new color. Sunshine Yellow. well used, you can see. And Everglades, also a new color. I have a little plastic palette that I'm going to use, and this is a marker VB3. It's Spectrum Noir. It's green, and it's alcohol-based marker. And a couple of rather skinny paintbrushes. This is full of alcohol. I don't think I ended up using that in this one. This is also full of alcohol, which I did use. And this is the alcohol. It is 91% alcohol. And I use these little makeup sponges. I like them a lot. They come in a package like this one. I get them at the dollar store. I prefer the ones that are triangular, wedgy shaped. It just works better. And I can trim them off as I use them. This is my handy little chart I made. I have a couple of these with all my inks. But that has my new ones on it. I always like to double check what colors I've picked to make sure they're what I think they are. And I remembered to put my glove on again. This time I put it on my right hand because that's the one that's going to get messy. I'm just going to put a little of the blue on this sponge, this makeup sponge, and I like to use this technique for backgrounds because it's very forgiving if you have to touch anything up. Basically, I'm just going to create a path across the page, a little bit darker where I'm going right now, but it's going to cover the whole page. I like the way it gives a random kind of pattern. Sometimes I trim off the corners so it's more of a circle instead of a rectangle, but you really can't tell that when all is said and done. It just kind of blends in. Put like 3 little dots on it, which gives you more of a specific pattern to go over top, which you can't really tell as you're putting it on, but give it a second here and look, and now you can see kind of what it does. And I kind of faded that off into the corners because I was trying to have a background that had some interest. And I'm doing the same thing again with the 3 dots instead of one large squirt of ink on the makeup sponge. Just trying to get a little more texture. Now on to the violets. I'm going to start with the darkest purple, which is Vineyard. I'm going to carefully drop some paint in random spots, trying to mimic little groupings of violets or violet-like flowers. Kind of impressionistic. I'm going to use a little paper towel to just kind of stop that one from blooming too far. I didn't want to get it too big at the top already. Just going to get a little excess off. They're kind of dark. And now I'm going to go to the lighter purple color, the Boysenberry. And it pushes the dark ink out of the way a little bit, but not a whole lot yet. You can't really see it, but believe me, it's there and we will see it. And I want to get some lighter spots around the darker spots, a little bit more interesting. I'm going to take my smaller sponge and I'm trying to get some of the excess off of it, and because I used it in this same color before, you can see there, and just get some alcohol on it. And the alcohol will make the ink move, and it will also kind of remove some of the pigment as the alcohol kind of pushes the pigment out of the way. Kind of going outside of where the flowers are, just trying to create some watery edges and some little lighter petals. I'm sorry my picture is so far to the bottom of the screen. I wish I'd had it up another inch, but I didn't. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to trim that a little bit. It was a little unwieldy. I wanted a little smaller, so I'm get a little tinier square, get some alcohol on it. Try and lighten them up and fuzz the edges. I'm going to take the sunshine yellow and put those cute little yellow dots you see in violets in. I'm going to use my really tiny paintbrush to just drop them in here and there in little bunches of 2 or 3. They don't show up the best at first. It's the yellow ink pushing the purple ink out of the way. So I ended up going over them a couple times and dropping fresh ink in. You'll notice I'm wiping my brush off before I go back into the yellow ink because it has purple ink on it. And I don't want my yellow ink contaminated. I want it nice and bright and yellow. Oh, I didn't do it that time. See, I'm on to where now it's not picking up as much purple ink. But the first time through, it really tended to pick up purple ink on my paintbrush. And I also don't want too much yellow going in there because I don't want it to explode and have a big blob of yellow. That's why I'm using the paper towel to blot some of the yellow ink off before I apply it. back to the sponge and the plain alcohol. I'm going to try and fuzz out some of the edges, get some pale ones hiding in the background. Now I'm going to take the marker and draw in some stems. I want it to be going up towards the top right corner of the page, so I'm putting the stems in towards the bottom left corner. Now I changed my mind there of how I wanted the one flower to be stemmed. So right now it has a double stem, but that's not going to matter because I'm going to take a little alcohol with the little blue on it and get rid of that. And in the end, I think I put a leaf there, so it really didn't matter. See, right there. And now I'm going to try and take just a little alcohol and just kind of fuzz it out. You can see I kind of got it a little fuzzed out. When I use marker, I like to take a little clear alcohol, plain alcohol, and just run it along the edges. It makes it look more amorphous. I don't know. Blends in better with the background. It doesn't stick out like this perfectly sharp line. So I kind of like that feel. I like it that it has a little more texture to it. So I always do that when I use marker. Now I'm going to use the Everglades color, and I'm going to use it with a little sponge. Put a little alcohol in it first because I don't want it real strong. And I'm going to just do some leaves. Now, that was a little too weak because these first leaves I want to be at the same depth of color as the flowers. So see how I just neatly went into that spot where I changed my mind about the stem and I put a leaf there. And I'm just going to throw some in here and there. And now I'm adding a little alcohol to it, so they're a little blurry, a little less defined, a little paler. And just like I did with the flowers, I'm going to put those in the background and kind of hint at other groups behind the flowers that are in my picture. Like there's more greenery, more violets in the background that we just can't quite see sharply. And I'm going to just do a final little bit of spatter. I'm going to spatter some clear alcohol, some nice clean alcohol right across it, and wherever it hits, it's going to push the ink out of the way and make these little watery, like bubbly splatter shapes. Just kind of give it some texture. I could splatter other colors on there. With this one, I did the alcohol first, and then I contemplated first the darker purple, then the lighter purple, and I thought about the yellow, and I thought about Everglades, the green. In the end, I decided I liked it with just the alcohol splatter, so I left it as it was. Now, when you work with alcohol ink, you need to spray it afterwards. You start with Kamar, 2 coats of that. It keeps the ink from moving and sets it, and then 2 coats of the UV spray because they're highly susceptible to light and fading. Then I did 2 coats of the Minwax clear gloss Polycrylic to give it a nice protective finish and sheen. And then after all that, I was ready to put my book together. The easiest way to do this is to set the book down in the way that you're going to want the cover on it, so you don't get confused and put it on backwards, which I have done. So I'm going to want it on there, just like that. So I flipped it over, and it's going to go pretty side down. I'm going to get rid of the paper cover, and I'm going to pop it on there. Now, they're still kind of open from me taking it off, so it's really not all that difficult to get it put back on there. You just kind of got to play with it a little bit. And you can see how the back cover is now become the front cover, and the front cover has now become the back cover. Then you flip that down and you tighten all the little things just by squeezing them together so it can't come apart again. It's really pretty pliable and not difficult to do. And there we go. A really neat personalized sketchbook. You can see the nice glossy finish, and you'll know that it will protect your nice new piece of art. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and that maybe I've inspired you to try some alcohol inks on your sketchbook covers. Please check out my Etsy shop, where I have ink pieces and prints and lots of little monsters. See you next time.